One of my favorite quotes says, "It's amazing what you can get done if you don't care who gets the credit." And just being like, okay, I'm good at 10% of things, and so I'm gonna try to identify. It's a team. It's team building. It's everything. It's like it's what we're doing here with taking down multi-million-dollar assets. Everyone has a role to play in that. And typically, when somebody buys a $70 million asset, it's a team. It's a group. And so for me, that principle just applied to business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Own the Exit. I am Caleb Edwards here in the studio with my co-host Aaron. Aaron, how are you, man?
I'm good, Caleb. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We are wrapping up and closing out our roundtable discussion with top performers and producers in our Network Multiplier Model program. These are guys who have been responsible for directing millions of dollars into real estate assets and have directly influenced over $75 million in real estate assets just in the last 18 months. It's pretty remarkable what these guys have been a part of accomplishing and have done together.
Absolutely. It's amazing what you can do with a team.
It really is amazing when you resist lone wolf syndrome. My kids they had this season of time, and they still kind of are, but they were really obsessed with wolves.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so as a good father, like literally when I leave the house, even today, like this morning when I left, they're out on the porch of my house doing this. Like that's how they tell me bye, is we're the wolf pack, right? Nice. We're the wolf pack. And lone wolves, so I was studying about wolves, especially when they were interested in it, because I wanted to be able to talk to them about things that, they were interested in, right? And I discovered that there's this parasite that infected these wolves in Yellowstone. Right. And basically it's called a puppet master parasite. It made them more aggressive, less fearful, all that kind of stuff. And what we found, what the studies found tracking these gray wolves was that the wolves that had the parasite, but that they were a lot more likely to become the lone wolf. It was something like 15 times more likely to go out on their own and become the lone wolf. And anytime you're the lone wolf, it sounds sexy, but you typically die early because you starve, But the counter stat for that was that the ones that, resisted the urge to become the lone wolf stayed in the pack, right? Decided to run as a pack. They were 40 times more likely to become the alpha, and the average lifespan of the entire pack increased by an average of 4 years. Now, a gray wolf lives 8 to 12 years. And so a 4-year increased lifespan is significant. It's 50% longer life. And so, I believe that entrepreneurs are, parasite infected wolves, right? And I'm speaking as one. And essentially, if you're an entrepreneur, if you've got this mindset of an entrepreneur, then you're different, right? You're different. You're more bold. You're more aggressive. You're less risk averse. Like you're all of that kind of stuff. And the temptation is you want to go out and you want to do it on your own, right? Like you want to be the lone wolf. It's sexy. I'm going to, ascend the hill myself. And the truth is if you can find a way to get into a pack, then your likelihood of success dramatically goes up, and the likelihood of success of everyone in the pack dramatically goes up. And that's what we're building here, and that's what I'm excited about. And I want to talk a little bit because you guys are absolute ballers at business, right? Like you guys have proven success in a variety of different industries, and there are skills that have to be developed over time where you basically learn the business skills to make millions. Right? And so I want to talk on this episode. Each of us share one business skill that has contributed to our success, that we would say has maybe been the number one contributor to our success, one skill that we had to develop. Before we jump in, just going to quickly introduce you guys for those of you watching and tuning in who are not super familiar with Own the Exit or have not met these guys yet. We've got Aaron here, our co-host, right? He and I are partnered at Oak IQ Investments. We launched the Network Multiplier Model program. We buy and build big real estate assets and help our investors make a lot of money. That's the short form of it, right? We've got Rod Areola. He's a serial entrepreneur, expanded Teriyaki Madness, a restaurant franchise from around 30 stores to over 100 stores. He is an expert in business operations who now runs a successful Amazon DSP logistics firm remotely. For the most part, yeah, which is that's an accomplishment in and of itself. And he's the founder and principal of Stellar Legacy Capital, where he helps business owners with similar business profiles as him be able to diversify into passive real estate investments. So, welcome to the show, Rod.
Thanks for being here again. Great to be here again.
Rod.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So, and then we got Tony Akins, a former public servant who bootstrapped a family legacy in contracting and real estate. Now he leads Equip Star Fund, where he helps other public servants be able to diversify their retirement accounts and the money that they've made into passive real estate investments, group investments. So thanks for joining us again, Tony.
Thank you for the invite.
And lastly, we got Kenny Johnson. He's the host of the Invested Fathers podcast. Kenny transitioned from a successful sales career into building East West Capital, where he has achieved the dream of prioritizing family while growing wealth in real estate, and he's helping other people do the same.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Awesome.
All right, Aaron, let's start with you, man. What is the number one business skill that you have had to develop and build over time that you would say has been the biggest contributor to your success?
I would say, kind of like you said, the lone wolf syndrome. I think just laying down, I think so often the lone wolf syndrome thing you mentioned is around ego. So it's I'm the guy that built this, and I think there's ego where it's a personality where it's more of not necessarily a flaw, but you're wired that way where you're hey, the company's going to be called Aaron Leatherdale Investments, right? And it's and that's something that we have to fight against. But then there's another kind of ego or dysfunction where the whole business is actually and all the processes and all the roles and everything are so wrapped around that person that it kind of creates the same thing where you're trapped in both ways. One is a business and kind of process dysfunction, and the other one is a personality dysfunction, I guess you could call it. But recognizing both of those and then just laying those down and being if I'm going to scale, it's one of my favorite quotes says, "You'll be, it's amazing what you can get done if you don't care who gets the credit." Yeah. And just being okay, I'm good at 10% of things. And so I'm gonna try to identify. It's a team. It's team building. It's everything. It's it's what we're doing here with taking down multi-million-dollar assets, tens of millions of hundreds of millions of dollars. Everyone has a role to play in that. And typically, when somebody buys a $70 million asset, it's a team. It's a group. And so for me, that principle just applied to business. With everything is okay, who are all the right people for this? And, because the goal is what's the goal of business? Is it to make yourself feel good? Is it what's the point, right? And so just recognizing that. So for me, that's been a bit of a journey because I was the lone wolf, but not even by choice. It's you got to start somewhere, right? I was a solopreneur staying up till 2 a.m. doing bookkeeping, lonely, just oh, this is horrible. And then I hired my first employee, and it was yes, I made more money, and I doubled my income in 3 months. Because this guy, at first I didn't even know how I could afford him.
Right.
And all of a sudden I was wow, it was eye-opening. It was leverage, it was when you buy real estate, you put 20% down, you control an asset 5 times. I was I just got 5 times what I'm investing here. And so that's my number one skill, team building.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Rod, what about you? What is the number one business skill that has contributed to your success?
Yeah, it's very similar to what Aaron said, actually, in building teams, right? So through my experience, I've been able to identify individuals and groups of people to build teams that will, create success for the overall good of the company. So, that's really, really important. I mean, because you can't do it on your own, right? So I know, I said this before, but you got to work smarter, not harder, right? And I know, hard work is definitely number one, but if you find the right people, you can do amazing things. And so that's why, I love this the syndication model that we're doing here, bringing a group of investors together, and then hiring or just working with a team of professionals, right? To really develop, construct, manage, do everything for us without us having to do much else, right? Except for the beginning. So really identifying, like I said, good operators, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm able to work remotely, because I have a great team at my Amazon DSP in Las Vegas, and really I can work from wherever I want, and I'm there just like once a month. So again, identifying great team members is a skill that I've developed over the years. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And I want to, the other, one more thing, I think perseverance and grit is just another thing that's, it's not really a business skill, but it's a skill that you have to develop as anyone in life, and just staying resilient and keep going.
Yeah.
That's been my number one skill.
So give
over
one
life.
or two tips to folks who, because sometimes perseverance and grit can feel more like ethereal or difficult.
Yeah,
like how do you cultivate that? But
Yep.
give one or two tips how you've been able to cultivate more of that in your
I
journey.
just think about, again, there's steps to success, right? It's a daily step, it's an hourly step, whatever it is. There's times when you don't feel like, going to the office, you don't feel like, staying up, late, researching an investment or something like that, but in the back of your mind, you got to think this is a long-term thing, right? This is gonna benefit me and my family, even though I don't want to do it. So you just gotta have some discipline and know that this is for the future, for your future and your family's future and your legacy. Make sure you understand that. But it is tough for sure.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you say is keeping your eye on the prize is the key to cultivating grit and determination.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Tony, what about you? What's the number one business skill that you have had to develop or that you have that has contributed to your success?
And I decidedly used to be on the other side of this, but I'm going to compare two emotions, cynicism and skepticism. Something I discovered along the way is that you seldom, you've heard the quote that you never see atheists in foxholes. Well, you never see cynics in the C-suite.
Yeah.
And so there's people, when you bring them an opportunity, there's a cynicism that's never going to work, and they're going to talk it down. And I used to be that individual. And over time, you realize maybe that's not right. And one of the qualities I've seen time and time and time again in highly successful people is skepticism. Show me how it's going to work. Walk me through it. And from the entrepreneurial, if I'm bringing you a deal from that side of the table, you really need to have your ducks in a line and be able to present a simple idea in a simple way. You talked about Warren Buffett before, and I, explain it to me on one page simply. You need to have yourself in line, and ready for those skeptics. Those skeptics are really, really where you're going to find some advantages and get around people who are going to take you places and build your team.
Yeah.
Also, to your guys' point, a little bit, we talk about the team. Oh my gosh, in the fire service, when you're in there on the nozzle, we always called that guy the guy or gal the hero, and everybody else on the fire ground was hero support. And at any given time on these deals, finance is the hero, construction is the hero, somebody's the hero, but we've all got to be making sure that we're bringing everything to the table that they need to get their job done in that hero support role. It's not really that different. Yeah, we're not fighting fires. We're building these beautiful assets, but the principles all remain.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good, Tony. And I know your career in public service has definitely fueled your success in business. Absolutely. And I can tell just love those examples and love those stories. So I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you. It's a big motivator for us in Equip Star Fund, because what I've seen time and time and time again is there's sacrifices made by those we're the various service stars of our country, and they really don't get the piece of the pie that I think they deserve. And so to have access to these generally opportunities that are the domain of the well-connected and bringing that to that crowd's been really invigorating for us.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. All right, Kenny Johnson, number one business skill that you have or have had to develop that has contributed the most to your success.
I found out about myself, the way I am wired is to be a servant, have a service mindset. I'm the youngest of four in my family. I kind of joke with people, I learned what not to do just by watching my brothers and sisters growing up. And I was constantly like getting Kleenexes or rubbing people's feet or just like setting the table, just doing whatever I can to like help those around me. So I think as I've grown in this and, I worked for almost 10 years in a customer service type of role for high-end clients in a sort of landscaping renovations role before I started doing real estate. But building relationships with strategic partners, deep connections in those relationships, which I feel like starts with the service mindset. So I feel like I've been able to, meet people like yourself. I mean, this whole team has been so awesome to be a part of this team. But being able to identify people that I resonate with, and then kind of go deep with them. How does this person tick? What are their pain points? What do they like? What do they like talking about? How are they comfortable? I feel like I have a heightened sense of like being aware of these things, so that when I'm engaging with them, they feel special. They feel like I'm listening to them, taking care of their needs, and that's just something I feel like I've settled into that role on these teams of just like, how can I make sure everyone else is sort of performing at their peak and happy and comfortable. I really don't feel like I'm a leader in that, and necessarily like I need to be the alpha, like we talked about the lone wolf. I really don't feel like that's my thing, and I feel like knowing that has been actually very freeing, so that I can just keep people doing their thing, staying in their lane, and also just making it fun, making it enjoyable. We can all do business together and do life together, and if we're just kind of like sort of gritting our teeth and doing our job, where's the fun in that, right?
Right.
So I enjoy sort of making people feel relaxed and having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think you do a great job at that. You're a very easy person to talk to, interact with, enjoy. And that is a skill. It's a skill that I don't necessarily have as much of. I feel like maybe sometimes I just want to get at it, like let's get at what we need to, like, that kind of thing. I'll close it out here with the number one skill that I feel like the number one skill that I have developed over the years that has contributed to my success has been my ability to identify opportunities to create leverage. Right. And that is, even through launching the equity division and investor club of Oak IQ, we started by simply raising capital from retail investors, right? Which we still do. We still have a lot of, very happy investors, who invest with us. But then the conversation was, well, we want to scale into larger deals because we have these opportunities. We need to be able to raise more capital. How are we going to do that? Well, we need to create leverage. We need to, I remember my earliest business mentor told me, would you rather have 100% of your effort or 1% of 100 people's effort? The outcome's the same, but you don't have to work nearly as hard.
Sure.
Right? And then what if you could get 100% of 100 people's effort? Then that's where, that's where the lever gets pulled. That's where you create leverage. And so, I feel like my number one skill that's contributed to my success has been that, my ability to identify opportunities to create leverage.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us again for this episode of Own the Exit. Listen, if this episode was helpful for you on your business journey, your investing journey, go ahead and share this with someone else, subscribe, leave a review, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate you. All of our, subscribers, everybody watching. Thank you guys so much for joining. It's just enlightening, inspiring, all getting in the same room together, sharing, our number one business skills for success.
All right. Thanks again. Until next time, go out and own your exit.